Well, we actually have some brand new leaks for Battlefield 6 today, and some of it is actually looking pretty good. Word on the street is Grand Bazaar might be coming to the game. So we'll just have to see how that unfolds. Let's start going over all this stuff, guys. If you enjoy the channel, if you want to stay up to date with Battlefield 6, sub to the channel, hit the like button. And if you haven't already, check out my second channel. It'll be linked in the description, and it will be the pinned comment. I've been posting on that channel regularly, and I don't plan on stopping anytime soon. So check it out. It'll be linked in the description. The first thing I want to talk about is brand new leaks from Temporal. This has to do with possibly Season 3, maybe just generally unreleased Battlefield 6 content. It doesn't necessarily specify, but I think we can safely assume that some of this stuff is going to be in Season 3, just based on Temporal's track record with how often he turns out to be correct with a lot of these leaks. If we take a look at this infographic here, we see the most exciting thing up front. There is a map under the working name of Plaza. And allegedly, this is going to be inspired by Battlefield 3 Grand Bazaar. Okay, so first of all, take everything with a grain of salt. These are leaks. However, if they do decide to add Grand Bazaar to Battlefield 6, or they add a map that is inspired by Grand Bazaar, I think that would be absolutely awesome. I've actually been asking for Grand Bazaar ever since the launch of Battlefield 6, because I just think it would fit the game perfectly, and because Galmud Railway is already officially announced, and I think we can safely assume that is going to be a Season 3 map, even though they haven't officially confirmed anything that's going to be featured in Season 3, it would make sense to offer a more infantry-focused map alongside releasing a map that is so vast like Galmud Railway, that is so vehicle-heavy and just has a completely different gameplay focus. So if the two Season 3 maps do end up being this map called Plaza, inspired by Grand Bazaar and Galmud Railway, that would create something for everybody. Then there's an interesting, mysterious map listed called Isolated, and the only thing Temporal apparently knows about this map is that it is a map, but there is absolutely no information available other than the working name of it. I saw some discussion about there being 3 maps listed here, and people are saying, oh my god, does this confirm Season 3 has 3 maps? No, definitely not. I would not hold your breath regarding that. I think we're still going to get the same drip feed content that we've been receiving with Season 1 and Season 2. There really isn't any reason to believe they will just randomly increase the amount of content we'll be receiving in these seasons. But as I've stated a million times over, they could release 20 maps tomorrow. None of it matters if they don't improve the gameplay of Battlefield 6. That is the main focus. That is the biggest issue Battlefield 6 faces. Whether or not DICE actually wants to take improving the gameplay seriously. Now, moving on, there are some other weapons listed in this infographic provided by Temporal. Some really fan-favorite weapons. So, number 1, we have the L115A3 bolt-action sniper rifle. Just one of the coolest-looking sniper rifles ever made, in my opinion. So fucking sick. I think it's the CS 1.6 AWP. It's just a legendary rifle. I hope it's actually good. It's a shame that sweet spots are in this game, because if it has like a super long-range sweet spot, it's just going to feel cheesy like the M98B does. But nevertheless, I do like to see that weapon potentially returning to the game. Interestingly, there's an RPK-74M listed, and my understanding is the RPK-74M in real life is just chambered in a different cartridge, but we already have an RPK that's in the game. I fully understand that this is a different, type of weapon, but it's interesting that they would add 2 RPKs to Battlefield 6 potentially. And then we get to the infamous Battlefield 3 M16A3 potentially seeing a comeback in Battlefield 6. You already know that if they add the M16A3 back, it's gonna be disgusting, dude. It's probably just immediately going to be the best AR in the game, because it has to be, right? For nostalgia purposes. So if they do end up adding the M16A3, I am fully anticipating it being overpowered and having no recoil and blah, blah, blah. And then finally, we see the PP19 Vitsiaz. I don't think this is the Bison, guys. I saw some people commenting under this tweet that, oh my god, you're going to be able to have the extended 60-round magazine of the Bison or whatever. No, I'm pretty sure this is a completely different weapon, but it is kind of tradition for there being a big mag submachine gun in the game, so we'll have to see what they do with the PP19 Vitsiaz. I think this weapon was really good in Delta Force, if you played that game. So we'll have to see what they do with it in this game. And then the last few things mentioned in Temporal's post, he lists a few gadgets and he lists a few game modes. As far as the gadgets, there's not really much of interest here. There's a couple battle pickups like the artillery strike and smoke screen. There is a battle royale call-in called the Jag M strike, and then one of the recon gadgets he mentions is called the mobile jammer, which I can only assume jams radar or minimap. Then in terms of game modes, obliteration gets a mention, which I really enjoyed obliteration, particularly in Battlefield 4. I would really like to see it back, but you know how Battlefield is now. It's probably going to be a limited time game mode, only available for a certain amount of time, and then they'll go ahead and put it in Portal and we'll probably never play it again. I certainly hope that isn't the case with obliteration. However, obliteration being mentioned here doesn't necessarily mean that, number one, it's going to be added to the game, and number two, that if they add it to the game, it's going to be good, because we saw what they did with Rush, guys. Rush in Battlefield 6 is fucking terrible, and we learned that during the beta of the game. Onto the other two game modes mentioned. One is called Infiltration, and it is apparently a two-phase infiltration mode, Collect and Hunt, involving high-value targets, so that could be cool. Again, probably some sort of mid-season event game mode if I had to guess. And then finally, there's a game mode for Gauntlet called Alliances, and it is a, quote, new spin on existing Gauntlet game modes. So not much information. The next leak I want to cover really isn't a leak. In fact, I don't want to give any credibility to this. The only reason I'm mentioning this is because it created an interesting conversation around the topic that was actually posted. However, this account on Twitter called Battlefield 6 News basically started talking about how Battlefield 6 may introduce live weather systems which will impact vision and effectiveness. So basically, they're talking about dynamic weather potentially being added to Battlefield 6. Before I go any further, this account is notoriously AI slop. You can see it here. You can just take the text and plug it into any AI text generator. It's literally AI slop that is engagement farming. And even worse, there's no real source or anything pointing to why this is suggested to be a leak. We really don't know if this is credible at all. It probably isn't. But this post, unfortunately, did get a lot of traffic, which created a massive conversation around dynamic weather. And there's just a lot of delusional shit said. I saw an alarming amount of people basically begging for dynamic weather to be added as soon as possible, even over gameplay improvements. And all I have to say about that is just classic Battlefield community. An alarming amount of the community probably don't even think there is much wrong with Battlefield 6 at this moment, and that is absolutely terrifying because it really gives you a perspective as to just how little attention people pay to the game that they're playing. They boot the game up and they quite literally just stare at the moving picture that happens on their screen, and they don't really process anything past that. But don't worry, because they will be the first people to go on Twitter and Reddit trying to tell DICE what they should do with Battlefield 6. And that's about all I have for you today. Basically, we're just in this state of limbo where now we wait for the completely lackluster Part 3 of Season 2, and then past that, we're again waiting for any Season 3 news to become official, and we will just have to, again, wait and see if any of these leaks actually come true. I particularly hope the one about Grand Bazaar is true, because it just seems like such an obvious thing to do. You guys are going to have to let me know in the comment section what you think about all this stuff. Thank you guys so much for watching. I really do appreciate it. Be sure to hit the like button, sub to the channel, and check out the second channel that has to do with perfumes, fragrances. Basically, it's just my hobby channel. I've really been enjoying responding to all the comments on there. That'll be linked in the description and in the pinned comment. So, again, thank you for watching, and I will see you guys in the next video.